action. And listeners, I've already said that you can be a part of our show, like we always do. We'll be activating the phone lines in a bit, but the WhatsApp line is working, so 055-1111-995. Any question whatsoever you have about the banking sector cleanup exercise, you want answered or addressed for you, feel free. So let me start off with you. I mean, so what actually would you say necessitated the financial sector cleanup exercise?
Okay, I think before we got to this stage, there were a number of things that were happening. We're doing our business as usual.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where people go to banking halls, they go to a microfinance institution just to get their deposit back, and it was becoming a problem. So there was a study in 2015 to find out what was on the ground. And it came out that there were a number of them that were insolvent. The institutions were existing, but unfortunately they were not able to meet the obligations by paying their liabilities, by paying the investment that people have put in. And then some requirements in terms of meeting the regulatory requirement were also missing. And so this continued for a while. There was a second one that was done in 2016. And that gave us red lights that we should act quickly.
Is that to suggest that when you did that survey, that work in 2016, whatever you found was not enough red light to have, prompted some action?
It prompted some action, but it was something that we were trying to find remedies. Where, for instance, some banks received some support from the central bank in terms of liquidity, in terms of advice, in terms of what to do next. There were a lot of engagements to see where owners of these banks can actually revive them. So not that nothing was done. There was a lot of work that was done behind the scenes to revive some of these things. But after some time, they were still not forthcoming.
Why was it so? Because again, we have regulators like SEC, there's Securities and Exchange Commission, and they are supposed to play certain roles in there. First of all, how come we missed it? And secondly, how come that even though per your research done in 2016 and all that you found and all that the support you gave could not still fix the problem?
If you look at the way we've been playing the roles, over the years we are experimenting a number of things. So, for instance, if you pick our banking sector, it is not fully up to the standard where when a pin drops you can easily see. So there has been a lot of reforms, changes going on all the time, and so that time even the laws governing the banking rules were not that tight to, for instance, to prosecute anybody, to take somebody's license and all that. So there were a lot of things that we had to do quickly. And that was where...
Is that a 2016 bit?
Yes.
Because in 2018, there was this the CDC law that came through.
Yeah.
That came in 2018. Yeah. So you go...
That was also all part of the changes that were supposed to happen out of the 2016 findings. And so what they did was to find out what will work for us. And that's where they started coming out with new laws. And they came out with Bank and SDI Act 2016, which... subsequently were able to provide answers to some of the problems that were existing. Now, before we got to that end, a lot of things have happened, and there were some that were beyond remedy. Some of them you throw in money and you will not get any better results. So that was what necessitated the action of the central bank to some extent. And beyond that too, if you look at the way our economy was expanding at that time, there were certain things that the banks were not able to do to support the economy. So we get to a stage where you have to do some introspection and find out what is it that we need to work on. And so that necessitated this whole action.
So having listened to you carefully, what is it's communicating to me or saying to me is that for people who will sit back and say, okay, fine, instead of we collapsing some of these financial institutions, why couldn't we have pumped some money in there, ingest some money in there, and then keep them in business? And then monitor and ensure that they do the right things. Is that to say that you tried it and it didn't work? Because we've heard from politicians, we've heard from businessmen, we have even heard from the Speaker of Parliament, Abang Babin, who says if we have put some 5 billion in there, because we spent about 21 billion according to the Vice President. So is that to suggest that that was not possible? That we could have pumped some money in there to at least keep some of these financial institutions in business?
If you look at it carefully, apart from the microfinance level, most of these banks were maintained. None of the banks were thrown away. So, for instance, account from UT Bank, Capital Bank, they were moved to GCB. And then the other 6 that came later, They put them together and form the consolidated bank.
CBG, yeah.
So the model that they use really it was seamless. So nobody lost anything. So for instance, I had an account with UT. The account was maintained with GCB, and I'm still using that account. So we had that kind of transition. When it got to the microfinance end, in fact, the microfinance at that time, we had more than 700 of them in the country. And look at the way they were spaced and at different levels of operations. It was difficult to put them together as a whole. So that's where we had a model to pay off the client. And at that time, the research actually pointed to the fact that the deposits were not as huge as it was. But then when the receiver got the whole information and started to unravel what was there, that was where you saw a lot of regulatory breaches. You know, at microfinance level, you are not supposed to accept more than 50,000 as a deposit from a client. But there were some that were accepting even dollars, $500,000 and all that. And so in their books, you will see a 50,000, but unfortunately, if you go behind it, it's a $500,000.
But is that also to suggest that we're not, checking regularly to see whether they were conforming to the rules of engagement?
It was done behind what we call off-balance sheet activities.
So even if
a lot of them were not in the books, so it's what you report to the central bank that they can actually work on. And if you have a lot of things that are hidden from them, and honestly, if you speak to the receiver today, there were some of the things they saw when they started with this receivership activities.
But they couldn't see these things in 2016 and 2018 when
they were not in the books. So you can't find anything about it. You only see that, yes, this institution, I have a deposit of 50,000, which is according to the regulation. Then behind the 50,000, the owners have, the person has, the client has given you maybe 500,000 Ghana cedis. And that 500,000, you've reported only 50,000. So in your books, you owe somebody 50,000. But then, in the actual sense, it's 500,000 that you owe that person.
So based on what you're saying, that it was...
That was why the figures, if you look at it, it started jumping from a lower amount. And then later we heard, we're thinking about 2 billion to solve the problem. Then it jumped to 5. Then it jumped to 7. Then before we realized. And today, in fact, if you open the line, some people will tell you they haven't received their monies.
It's one of the factors on my mind.
They cannot account for where they got their money from.
Who cannot account?
The individuals.
Which individuals? Because if I'm a depositor in one of the institutions and I have my paperwork intact, documentation intact, why shouldn't I have my money?
With the institution, your report is just 50,000. But then between you and the MD, you have more than 1 million. So how do we address the difference? And it's not a straightforward thing that the government will say, okay, I've seen this, so I'm paying you this. They have to do a lot of work behind it. And there are some that the paperwork does not add up. So that is why you still have people that have their monies locked up.
What about people who genuinely have documentation, genuinely have the right figures reflecting on their papers and all that? Have everybody depositor received his money?
I will not say everybody, because I know there are some of the cases that are still in court. Those ones, you cannot just deal with it unless the court satisfied everybody with the case.
Has it been communicated to them? Because there are occasions you'll be watching television and then you see some depositors of, let's say, GN Bank holding press conferences, raising concerns as to they not having gotten their monies and all that.
A typical case is what you are saying. GN Bank is in court. And so when the court has not settled on those things, you cannot just pay.
But have you communicated that to the depositors? For them
that
to
one is the work of the receiver and then the owners of these businesses. So those ones, they have a way of talking to the client behind the scenes. So any client that has such problems, you know where to go. You usually go to a receiver, and then they will deal with your case, case by case issues. The group per se thing, that one is a bit deceptive, because I happen to be talking to some people, and interestingly, masses, people were just moving along, going for their monies. I asked one person, how much do you have in there? And to my surprise, this person said 200 Ghana cedis. And I said, well, so you spend days and nights chasing your 200 cedis. It's something that's going to help you to do your business or something. But please, don't you think you are wasting too much time on this? Or, alternatively, the money that you are spending now, running around, do you think if you keep that and then let the law work on this, when it's done and you deserve your money, you get it, rather than you chasing the 200 cedis with all your life?
Overspend than the 260 cedis.
Thank you.
But where are we with the court cases? Do you have any idea?
To be honest, there are different cases, and I can't tell which of them is now. Yeah.
All right, so this is Love 99.5, and we're speaking to some friends of ours, and for example, I have with me Mr. Emmanuel Saki. Emmanuel Saki works with the Ministry of Finance, the banking and non-banking unit. Yael Jamfi is Executive Director for the Association of Microfinance, and we're having a conversation about the banking sector cleanup. If you have any issues, you have any questions, you have any contributions, first of all, we're live on Facebook. It's on LUV 99.5 FM, and again, we have our WhatsApp number 05511119995. You can join us there with any question at all you want for them to address for you. Before we go any further, I don't know the kind of doors you guys use, but here in Kumasi, we are all hooked on to one particular door from Israel. And the company that gives us these doors is a company called Widilocks. They deal in Israeli security and internal doors. Now, their doors are elegant, the doors are affordable and durable. It has gladiator locking systems, 13 bolts lock all round into the galvanized steel frame. Their doors do not make noise when opened or closed, because there are some people who will monitor your movement and then they'll come in and then they'll rob you. So get the right doors. It is specifically coated with powder paint to avoid peeling of paint. It weighs over 60 kg for a single door. It comes in single, large, 1.5 double doors. Now, you can also order for special height doors. So depending on the door frame size or height, you can order and then to be done for you. Their doors are made of galvanized steel, so it is rust-free. At Widilocks, keys are coded with 5 keys per door, which cannot be duplicated. Now, if you want peace of mind, security at home, your office, banks, warehouses, come straight to Widilocks to have a door that lasts so long without replacement. Now, there's a special offer for architects, building contractors, and real estate developers. Contact them today by visiting their showroom at Kwaoma off the Daban Sokoban Road, or you can call them or even send them a WhatsApp message to 050-8777-755 or 0575-777-755. Widilocks, we protect what matters to you. So these guys are here in Oseokrom. They're all the way from Accra. But listen, they are working all. And they in the North, Charlie, they hustle, they grind to turn all their dreams into reality. Even communicating to you, customers of some of these financial institutions that has gone under. So whether you are working hard like they do, or you are working out, or you're studying in school, or you're starting a business, there's no place to go to but to keep going up, improving upon yourself and doing better. But there are times in your day-to-day activity that your energy runs low. So this is why you will be excited to hear that Lucozade has got you covered. Now you get the right energy boost to keep you going. Lucozade with glucose will restore your energy during your everyday routine. So wake up your vim with Lucozade every day and restore your energy. And this advert is FDA approved. So Charlie, if you are working today and you're feeling tired and energy runs low, Lucozade is the one I recommend for you. Charlie, Mr. Jeffrey, do you have kids?
Yes.
You have kids. Eric, Emmanuel, you don't have kids. Or you do?
I don't.
You don't have. Yeah. I could tell from your face. For us, we speak one. Listen, fun time for kids means fun time with DSTV. And DSTV is a home of the best kids entertainment with something exciting for children of all ages. And you know what? The best part is that whilst they watch television and they're having fun, they learn as well. So give them premium enjoyment with shows such as Coco Melon on Moonbug on DSTV channel 318, Paw Patrol on Nicktoons channel 308, Teen Titans Go on Cartoon Network channel 301, PL Mask Power Heroes on Disney Junior channel 309, and so much more. Reconnect or stay connected by dialing *759# to make your kids not to miss out on the laughs as well as the education. DSTV is your moment. Now, Airtel has also got some message for you, and I mean Airtel Tigo. They wish to announce to their channel cherished customers that all unregistered SIMs will be permanently disconnected after 31st of May 2023, in line with NCA's directive. Now, customers who are yet to complete their SIM registration are entreated to visit the nearest Airtel Tigo shop immediately with their Ghana card to avoid permanently losing their numbers. What's more, you get to enjoy some 5 GB free data instantly after your registration is completed. So get registered now. Airtel Tigo Life is simple. So I've got some 2 amazing guys with me. There's a third one who is just observing us. Don't worry. And our conversation has to do with the banking sector cleanup exercise that began, between 2017, 2020. We've had a lot of issues about this, and people are asking, why didn't we even try to save those financial institutions Well, yeah, GMV here has explained that bit to us. They started something in 2016. They tried to inject some capital in there to ensure that the right things were done. Unfortunately, they could not succeed the way they expected or wanted to. Then in 2018, another was done, and they decided, listen, let's just collapse some of them. But not all of them were collapsed, though. Some of them were meshed into other banks, like the,
CBG.
No, the CBG one, and then the commercial bank.
Yeah,
commercial bank. So that's also there. So he's given some explanations. If you have any question for them, our WhatsApp number is 05511119995. Ask your question and get the right answers. So you have said that not every depositor has gotten his or her money. You have given reasons why it is so, and I say much appreciated. But I have a few questions, as well. And it has to do, for example, that in as much as we are chasing these monies, in as much as we're trying to, settle the matter in court, we know what has happened with Atuesian and all that. Question is, how are we sure that owners of the collapsed, institutions did not divert monies into private coffers, either in the process of when they had the announcement and all that? How sure are we that nobody has been able to divert some money?
I think the work that was done was a thorough work, and I believe that those that fall foul for the law, they will be dealt with. That one, I'm 100% sure. What we are not sure is that for now, we are not sure who is in there, who is not in there. I've explained on other platform, what is happening really is that there were some institutions that genuinely gave out monies for loans, and they never came back.
Okay.
Those ones, how do you fault them? And there were some, yes, that were diverted into other businesses that were not supposed to be from the financial sector. So, for instance, if I have a business in microfinance and I decide to go into real estate, that's not my core business. And then definitely, if you are not careful, you will shift some of the monies to that end. So there was some diversion of resources.
And that is wrong, isn't it? Because some of
can be dealt with.
The argument would be that maybe they were trying to invest to try and recoup. Because if you go into real estate, for example, and you're able to complete it, and either you sell it or you rent it out, you might make back your money. That's a bit of an investment. Is that wrong?
That is not wrong. And that is even a long-term thing. But then you ask yourself, if you look at the type of business you are in, for instance, a typical microfinance is a short-term type of loan lending or savings type. And so if I give you your money for a year, I don't expect you to go and put that money into real estate, which might take maybe 3 years to sell. So it all depends on the kind of business you are in. A commercial bank can do that. And for me, even that, you cannot just wake up and go and do it. You need permission from the central bank.
Okay.
There are some, even within you as an institution, there's what you call mission drift. If I set up to sell money, then why am I diverting to go and do a different thing without changing my status quo?
I see.
So you need to work out something before you do anything. Even if the laws are permitting you, you still need to do an internal work before you do those things. So some were missing elements within the space.
Okay.
For instance, some institutions started dealing with taxis. Somebody's model.
Taxi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where they buy taxi for people. It's somebody's model, it's working for that person. You don't understand it. But they got to a stage, a number of microfinance were into it.
Okay. So with what has been done and where we find ourselves right now, what would you say are some of the emerging benefits, and how do we sustain and safeguard those benefits?
In fact, we've done a lot of work has been done at the background. In fact, I always say that if you talk to the central bank, if you look at the activities they are doing, there are a lot of things that they are doing behind the scenes to make sure these institutions are now more stable, they are more able to do their business. Now, for instance, if you look at their risk measures, it has been improved tremendously. Right now, they do what you call risk-based supervision, where they are in your books day to day, and they see what is going on.
When you say they are, who are they?
The central bank.
Okay.
So, for instance,
and before,
the supervisors, before they were using a different approach.
But they were there.
They were there.
And they were missing all the things that the people were doing behind the scenes.
What was happening is that they wait for you before. They were doing what you call on-site supervision. So they will come to you, sit down with you, and then look at what is in your book. Today, as you do the transaction, they also have a way of watching behind you to see what is going on. If there are any triggers, they will wait for it to go bad before they come in. So today, we are all careful, from the operators, from the management, from even the central bank themselves. The supervisors are very, very much careful as to what they are looking for. And unfortunately, if you fall foul these days, I don't think you have it likely.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
But again, you'd agree with me that some people unfortunately lost monies.
Yes.
They lost their deposits. They lost their savings. So, what measures or innovations are being put in place to protect savings and investments of people?
So today, what is happening is that if as you take the monies, there are rules governing it.
Okay.
What is it that you can use the money for? There are clear lines. What is it that you cannot do with the money? There are clear lines. And then what type of money? And even the institution types. If you are not supposed to take deposit and you take deposit, you are in trouble. For instance, yesterday we met a group and I was telling them that if you wait for you to, let's say you are doing susu, and then you go to that susu person for a loan, it's wrong. It's against the laws.
If I'm doing susu,
why do you have to go?
And I go to the susu person. I say, listen, I want a loan.
You want a loan?
It is wrong.
It's wrong. They are not supposed to give you loans. They are supposed to mobilize deposits, and that's it.
But do some give out loans?
Some were trying to do it behind the scenes. And so I told them, anybody who see any sign of that, report them.
Okay.
They are not supposed to do that.
Okay.
There are institutions we call microcredit. They only provide credit. They give loans. They are not supposed to take any savings from anybody.
But
they can take what you call borrowings or investment up to a certain level where they do that to on lend. But beyond that, you don't go and take somebody's deposits.
But I'm confused here. So for those who are into the susu operations or business, they have people who work in the scorching sun.
Thank you.
Collect monies and bring it back to the institution. They would have to pay some cost. I mean, pay the staff, pay electricity, pay water, fuel vehicles, and all that. If they don't give out loans, how do they operate so they'll be able to make some profits and then stay in business?
If you look at the susu, typically, it's an enterprise. Staffing wise, there's a few of them that are beyond 3. You don't have too many staff to pay them. What happens is that you get your fee based on commissions. So if I have, let's say, 20 clients as my people that I go to and pay these monies, then at the end of a period, 21 days, 30 days, you take one of the payment as your commission. Assuming they are doing equal amount. If they are not doing an equal amount, they have a way of calculating which amount you take out. So these are the monies that they accumulate. And then there are some few that will come to you and say, I want to keep the money for the next 2 months. Those ones, every susu person, you have to have an account with a commercial bank.
Oh, okay. Every susu person?
Every susu person.
Okay. So
you go there and you deposit the money. You don't even keep the money in the house and come and tell us that you've lost it.
I confirm if I call.
Thank you. So there are rules governing those things. But some take liberties and do whatever they want. And that is where somebody will come and say, I'm a susu, I've lost the money. How? You are not supposed to lend it. You are not supposed to do anything, put it in an escrow account. When the person needs it, you go back and then bring it. At best, some can do what you call T-bill with it. But then even that,
they need permission.
You need permission. And then you also have to segregate your client. Okay. There are some that will say, I want to keep the money for a period. You know how you are dealing with these clients. There are some that will give it to you. At the end of the month, they will come for the money.
Okay.
Those ones, so how do you go and put it somewhere?
So with all that you've said, would you say that we're out of the woods yet? We're out of the hooks yet? Or you think that there's still more to be done?
I think for me, what is left is on the client side.
Client side.
We need to do more education. We need to do that constantly, get things into people's head. So for instance, if I have enough money to invest, you go to SEC, there are people who have been licensed professionals who can advise you what to do with the money. But I can just pop up somewhere in the corner of the country, tell people I'm this. They will not do any investigation. They give their money to me, go and invest. If I get enough, I'm off. So we all need to be careful. And that is why I'm saying on the side of the clients, we need to do more work. When you take the financial institutions, there's more work from the side of the regulators, and there's more work from the side of the Ministry of Finance. And even the like-minded associations are also working a lot on the ground with them. So for me, that side, a bit cushioned, but then we need to make sure the clients are also well informed so that whatever they do, they know they have the better information that they are using.
But some of them, like you mentioned earlier, are even in support or supporting some of the institutions to do the wrong thing. So for example, if they say 50,000 is the seat or the cap, and some are doing even in dollars and are going way behind it, which means that they knew what they were about, and yet were doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, that one, and that is why today the way the central bank is doing some level of regulation, which I know SEC and others are also doing the same thing. They are into your books every day.
Okay.
And when they see signs of these things, you'll be called to book.
So from what you're saying, it suggests to me that it looks as if we are out of the woods or the hooks yet. How do we encourage people to go into the habit of savings?
No matter what happens in life, you always have another life to live, and that is tomorrow. And so for me, I always tell people that whatever has happened should not be a way to step out and say, I'm not going to save in life. Or I'm not going to do anything with finance. Whatever we transact on this planet, it's just with finance. Even setting up your studio here, it goes through a financial institution.
Our beautiful studio.
Beautiful one. It goes through, yes, it goes through a financial institution.
Yeah.
So for me, it's something that we all need to be up and doing that. Let's save, but then where do I save? How do I save? Should be a question that I should be clear about.
So tell me, currently, would you say that you're impressed with the savings culture?
I'm not quite impressed because we still do the short term. We are not moving so much into the long term where you can keep money and then when you are in retirement, you can rely on.
Yeah.
In fact, if you look through our space, I always use my neighborhood as an example where I've seen some elderly people still living life and enjoying it. And when you talk to them, it's just because they were able to put money aside. And then on the flip side, you also see others that cannot even afford their medical bills. And you tell yourself, how do we overcome all these challenges?
Oh, it's because of
individuals.
Because of the bond issues. People's savings and investments have...
But the bond, for me, it's more or less a delayed payment that they will have.
People have died before by the time
they are not going to lose their money entirely.
Some people would have died by the time the money comes in.
No. With the coupons, I know.
People die every day. It is possible some of those bondholders, one person would have died today, but for some medication. You know, last week, for example, we had school children whose grandparents told them to picket at the finance ministry raising their own issues. But that's not why you're here. So you let me put that one aside.
Yeah.
But let's also talk. Yeah, Lusani says he has a question.
About the banks and
SDIs.
Yeah, who are taking more money. Are there punitive measures for them, for the managers, for the institutions? And what has been done about those who have violated these things?
Okay, for the institutions, if you go beyond, for instance, I know with the microfinance, we have what you call business rules and sanctions for them. So they know exactly what they are supposed to do now. If you go beyond it, the central bank will call you to order. They have a way of punishing you. There's a fine and all that. If you go through for a period and you are not able to overcome those things, then they will deal with you separately. What we should all bear in mind is that we are not going to have any mass, revocation of licenses like the way we saw it. Today, there's what you call GDPC, where the government has a scheme.
What is a GDPC?
Ghana Deposit Protection Corporation.
Okay, thanks, Iva. Okay.
The Protection Corporation simply allows the institutions to put a premium somewhere. So when the bank collapses, then they will pay you a fee out of it. Now, if these fees that they are going to pay, we usually start on a lower note, but then it's also based on the average, what you call the average savings that people have. That was why, if you look at what the monies that we quoted for the revocation of the first microfinance license, the amount was quite small because based on the average deposit, it was a sizable amount that can be dealt with easily. It was after that we saw there were a lot of behind things that were happening that we were not disclosed enough.
Well, so you've talked about the culture of savings, and you're saying that it's a very good thing, and you're encouraging people to save. I recall somewhere last week I was privileged to have met with the Director General of SNIT. We had a very fruitful conversations. He showed us figures. There are people who on retirement are getting 100,000 Ghana cedis a month. Some of them 150,000 Ghana cedis a month. And I'm like, what? It's all because they saw the need early and they did the needful early enough. Another question that I forgot but has just dropped on my mind. So we're talking about the collapsed financial institutions. We're talking about GN Bank that is, for example, in court and all that. But again, we see some of their vehicles packed. And you can tell that Charlie is at the mercy of the weather, rotting away. And I'm sure that there are other properties of the other collapsed institutions that are out there rotting away. Why are we allowing this to happen? Can we put them to better use?
Those things are in the hands of the receiver. So what they do is that as part of the assets that they have to realize and then pay off those who they owe. And even what the monies that the government put in. There are some of these things we should defray them and then get the monies back.
By defraying them to get back the money, they are wasting away. Some of them have been hit by the rain, have been hit by the sun. They have become, the paint is faded. They are rusting away. It's terrible.
But I know some of them, you cannot just pick your hands and take them. It has to go through the court system.
So can't we put them in situations where we are protecting them, so at least they'll still be of value?
Fast track system where they can
even aside that, so that they'll still be of value. Because if by the time we finish with the court processes
and they are valueless,
what have we done?
It's very true. It's very true. So I think for me, some of these things is the approach that we adopt and the way maybe the receiver too has a lot of things handful. In fact, it's not here alone. You go to Accra, there are some companies that were their doors were closed. Be in front of their building, they still have these cars sitting. And we need to do something about it quickly.
And I'm happy when you say we need to do something about it quickly.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the habit of saving. Let's now talk about the investment products and how we can safely put monies in there. And I think this is where Emmanuel comes in, isn't it?
Yeah, Emmanuel.
Okay.
And then
But okay, and then my very good friend. So let's hear you say. So let's talk about investments, because that's another key thing. If you're saying that we should save and we should also invest, how do I know where to put my money, get the right benefits from it? How do I know how safe my investments are going to be?
Okay, I think before Ima comes in, one thing that I want to put across is that there are so many different forms of investment.
Yeah.
But then if you want to do a short-term investment, you can deal with a bank. Or a savings and loan, even a microfinance. They can buy T-bills on your behalf. Then beyond them, that's for short-term. Beyond them, you can do the long-term investment.
When you say short-term, how short is the short-term?
It's averagely up to a year.
Okay.
T-bills, usually you do 90 days. And then you can revolve the amount and all that. Yeah. So those ones can be dealt with at the banking level. Beyond that, if you want to buy any other government instrument, be it bond, be it shares, you need to, or invest in, let's say, in a mutual fund. All those things, you need advice. What is happening is that they are not the straightforward type of investment where you close your eyes and you say, I want to pay this into it. You need professional advice about it before you invest. Those are the things where SEC related institutions comes in. They have fund managers, they have brokers, they have people that they've trained, they've certified that you can do this business. So you go to them and say, okay, I have 1 million Ghana cedis. What do I do? Then they will take the trouble to explain to you what is existing in the market. And then what is it that when you put in the money, frequently, how can you go back to it? If you want your money to stay for, let's say, 10 years, which instrument will be very much appropriate? So they look at all those angles before they advise you. And then they give you time to go and think about it.
Yeah. But how can one identify, illegal or fraudulent savings or investment products?
Thank you. That is very, very, very common and very good question now. Over the years, what we've seen is that there are people who study the terrain and then do things that are similar to the right ones. So, for instance, if I know the banks can take, let's say, an investment or take my money and then say I'm locking it up and I'll give you 19% per year, somebody will just sit down and say, okay, this one, if I break it down, I can also do 10% per month. It looks closer to what is the person is going to do. But unfortunately, you ask yourself, what is it that you are going to do to earn that money? And then you also have to have a benchmark on your own. I usually tell people, the lay people, that look at what the T-bill is paying. Compare with what the person wants to pay you. If the variance is too much, or if the difference is just so huge, be careful.
When you say so much or so huge, give me percentages. Or
so, for instance, if T-bills,
because it depends on what I'm investing my money in. I
Yeah.
can make much more money than you are doing. So if I, for example, say I'm promising you or I'm showing you this amount, it depends on the kind of investment I'm doing.
that is there, but then those ones that are not well treated, what they will do is that they will take yours, give it to somebody, and then when another person comes, they will try and convince others, get their money and pay them. So they'll be robbing Peter to pay Paul for a long time. You will not see it as a problem until a day you go and they will tell you, we cannot pay you your interest today. They start giving you excuses. Now what happens is that a lot of them is a form of pyramid scheme. So when you bring yours and then another person brings those, I have a pool. So I can pay you because of the differences in terms of the date that you started and that stuff. And then it runs for a period, but what they usually do is that they have a target. So for instance, if their target is to have 10 million within a certain period, they will work towards it. And so when you bring the money, they will convince you, they pay you the 10% or the 20% they promise you for a month. You become happy and you will start even putting that money back. You will not take your percentage, the interest, you will not take it. You will put it back. Others will join you because, Ghana, we believe in our friends. If you tell me there's a business that is good, I might not even investigate, but I'll put in money. Yeah, so we do that kind of arrangements, and then people will just come in and pile up, put money in. You are of age and you appreciate what happens with Peram. Those days, people will hear that, they are giving 20% to, then you go there. That's the way they operate. So once a while, you will have that kind of scheme popping up. They do that because they try and study the system and see what is it that will attract people. And once they get a sizable number of people, they even pay people to go and advertise and say that it's a good business, I'm paying you. I've asked people, you live in Kumasi. We know it's a land of gold. How many times have you seen gold?
Once or twice.
Thank you.
I was privileged to have been to Obuasi and so, yeah.
So if I come to you and I tell you I have a business that I'm selling gold, would you pay money? And it is not that straightforward. It's not that easy.
But again, if you see, and I'm sure that you're talking about NAM1, you have NAM1.
Not NAM1 per se, but then
the point again is if for example, Leo has some information, some privileged information, that has done some investments, and I see the benefits. He shows me some money, he shows me some returns. I would be tempted, based on what he's shown me, I'd be tempted to also want to invest, thinking and hoping, desiring and yearning that I would also get the same.
Yeah.
So that brings me to my next question. Aside from the interest you've talked about, the promises that they make, how can one identify a Ponzi scheme? Is it also possible that for those at SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission and all that, can pick some of these things early enough to help people not to go fall for their schemes?
Yes, we are all looking at the space. Some of them you can easily pick, especially those that have offices that come in person and all that. What is becoming more dangerous in Ghana now is those behind the mobile phones that we don't see them. I've had a couple of times where people will drop something on my phone, and at times they even have the nerves, they will call you that there's this investment. When you put in 1,000, you get 6,000. And it's running. Even was it on Thursday?
It's on YouTube.
Everywhere. And you ask yourself, some of them, if you follow it, you call 1-2, it will drop. They won't pick it again. And then when you call and start asking questions, they think, this one is here to investigate. That's it. They will block you.
But when you pick intelligence, why don't you pick the numbers or pick the addresses and then work behind the scenes, get to know where their locations are, and then go there rather than place a call and try to say maybe you're investigating for them to also put off their phones and
no. There are some times when these people call, you are in the middle of something, and there are times you want to find out quickly what is it. So you may be tempted to ask 1 or 2 questions, and I've realized that when you start asking certain intelligent questions, they also become suspicious.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is where I told you earlier on, we need to work on the clients, on the citizens more. Let us not rush into things that we don't understand.
If you don't trust it, if it's too good to be true,
ask questions.
apply the brakes.
Thank you.
I have so many questions on my mind. Let's talk about, during the cleanup exercise, I think ADB and NIB came under the lens during the cleanup. Huh? How are they faring now? I mean, do you have any idea?
I think they are still on course doing the business. Of course, such institutions always have some corrective areas that they need to look at. So I know, for instance, yesterday somebody asked me, is NIB still operating? I said, come on, have you heard anything about it? They are in business. They are doing their business normal. Those are more of national banks, and they usually have their own way of dealing with their businesses. There are a lot of transactions that passes through them as government agents and others. So for them, they still have the strength to survive and then move on with the businesses. If there's anything going to happen to such institutions, definitely government will not sit down for them to go down with anybody's deposit as happened with the others. Yeah.
Now, again, we live in a country where we cannot do without loans. So how, do we go about loans? How do we manage them such that, we avoid indebtedness? Because, Charlie, like you said, we rob Peter to pay Paul. Some of them institutions do it, but individually we also do same.
Yeah.
Because we need to get by. So,
I think for me, what we should all be careful with, if you are taking a loan, what is the purpose? And then the second level will be, what form of loan do you need? So, for instance, if I'm working and I need to expand the business, I do my analysis and I know, okay, I need 1,000 cities to expand the business. Go for thousands. Don't go for 1,500. The extra 500, you use it for what we call high life. You'll be buying fried rice in the evening, some egg and bread.
Chibum, we call it chibum here.
Chibum and those things. There are things that usually when money comes into your hands, you try to do them when you are not supposed to do them. So to avoid all those things, make sure you are going in for money that you think what you call your debt capacity can carry. If I take money that I can easily repay with the work that I'm going to do, I know very soon I'll be able to survive and then make more. Beyond this, you also have to ask yourself, if I want to get certain things at a point in time, can't I save towards it? So, for instance, I know if I want to buy a fridge, and I know that my old fridge will be off maybe the next 9 months, can't I do savings towards it rather than going for a loan for such things? There are some of the things you get it, but it will not bring you money immediately. So how do you repay? So we all have to be careful what we are going for and then what we are going to use the money for. Once we use it for the right purpose and then generate more out of it, we can easily pay our loans. Beyond this, you also have to make sure that you look at the type of institutions that you are also going to for the loans. There are some institutions that they will give you certain conditions that you might not be able to meet. So you have to comb around before you take a loan. Don't just go to one institution and say, I need 10,000. They give you the terms and conditions, you're okay, you accept it.
You're desperately in need
of the money.
So even if you have to present your mother for you do it. Listen, join us, listeners. If you have any question for Yao Jimfi here, I'm sure he has all the answers for you. And so the number to call us on is 03220-83596, 03220-83598, and 03220-83597. Call us now. We're talking about the banking sector cleanup exercise that took place. A lot of issues have come up. A lot of people have raised concerns. I have tried to ask as many questions as possible. Maybe there are still some areas you would want to have answers to. So you know our numbers already, 03220-83596, 03220-83597, and 03220-83598. George is on the line. Hi, George. Good morning. Hello, George.
Good morning, David. How are you?
George, I am well. Good to have you, sir.
David, it is very good for bringing these financial institution officers. David, some of the microfinance, they will tell these women, unless they give you loan, you have to come and make some contributions in the form of susu. David, and if the women pay up to 300, then they will add 300 and give it to the woman 600, and they will be taking 600 interest. So I want to know, is that right? If the person 1,000 cedis, they will let you contribute. Pay contribution in the form of susu till you have 500, and they will add 500 onto it, making 1,000 cedis, and they give you in the form of 1,000 cedis, and they will be taking interest for 1,000 cedis. That means you have helped them to give you loan. Is that right, David?
Is that right? Well, for me to answer, it's for JV to give us an answer. So thanks very much, George, for coming through. Let's speak to Edu Entry. Edu, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm well, Edu. Thanks for asking, sir. Let's hear you.
Yeah. Please, I'm a customer with the Defense Satellite Cable Conveyance Limited, the Master Branch. So when they called us to submit our documents, I did it at Women's World Bank. So we filled the form, we submitted all our documents. But when we checked with the receiver some time back, it appears some of us, our names didn't get to him. So our monies are still locked with him. So my question is, what are the options for us to get our money back? Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, sir. Thanks very much for calling us. 03220-83596, 03220-83597, 03220-83598. Well, we're talking about the banking sector cleanup exercise, and if you also have any contribution, any concern, any question, you can call us and get it addressed for you. Nana Kweku, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
The Lord is my shepherd, say I'm well.
I'm going to say something. If you have an old age saying that you say, if you fail to tell your story, someone will tell the story for others to believe, and later on you realize you won't yourself. You come and believe the false story being told. The financial guy there. You see the story is being told right now, and I'm going to repeat this. Even you, David, you used the word collapsed. And I was so marveled that he sat there for you to use the word collapse. No bank was collapsed. It was rather merged or consolidated. That should be the right word.
Some of them were collapsed. Some of them they said all the helps they gave could not work. So some of them collapsed.
They were not collapsed. They were merged. I'll give a typical example. Bank of what do you call this bank? Royal Bank and all those banks were all merged and consolidated. Or they gave it the name Consolidated Bank. UT and those ones were even merged with Ghana Commercial Bank. Now they were not collapsed. That is it. But instead of them telling their story, they allow people to say stories, and the people are believing it. I personally, he even said he had money in one of the banks, and then it was merged using the same account. He is even able to receive his money.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, this Piram, he made mention Piram. I remember 1992, 1993, Piram came around, and we sat down. They slept on the job, Bank of Ghana, and then we slept on the job, and we still have this. And in fact, if you don't take care, 5-10 years time, people there working now will still sleep on the job. We are going to have the same period and those kind of things coming back again unless they start to work. And there's one last thing. Master, businessmen, we are suffering. Why is it that the interest rate at the banks is over 40%? Why? Why?
Sincerely, some microfinance, not some, 347, if my figure is correct, 347 microfinance institutions had their licenses revoked.
No. We are talking about banks. No microfinance. Microfinance is something he said once
any bank was.
Don't worry. So Nana, thanks for your contribution.
We made the bank.
thanks.
We put them under GCB and all that.
And then some were also formed to CBG.
Yeah.
Well, I hear you, Nana. So we have 3 minutes to wrap up our show. Please respond to some of the questions that came quickly for me.
Thank you. I think the first question on the issue of what you have to do deposits before you take a loan. There are some institutions, they have it as part of their practice.
Well, that was George's question when I said some of the Susu printers, they'll take your money, add some, give you some 600, and then they do a matter of
what they do is that they are not taking collateral from you. So what they do is to have what you call cash collateral, where you put in some money aside before you can take a loan from them. It is not your money that you put there that they give it back to you as loan, but then they give you money based on what you have. It's a practice that people use. For instance, I joined a credit union that credit union, I have to contribute to a certain stage before I can take a certain amount. And I remember going for a loan from them. They look at what I have deposited before they give me, because they try to cover about 30% of the money that they give it to you out as loans.
So somebody else,
but then you don't have to overdo it, where you have to do the same number of amount before you can take the same number as money. But as I said earlier on, my brother, before you want to work with these institutions, comb around and look for the one that satisfies the kind of condition you are in before you take those kind of.
And then don't you talk about the fact that his name is not in there anywhere, although he did some registrations and even went to Women's Wealth Banking, and his name is not in there. Eric Nananipa and his people didn't find his name.
Mr. Eji, Eric Nananipa is still around. What you do is that please check with the institute where you registered whether the office is still open. I know they still have offices around where they are still using some premises of the financial institutions that they revoke the license. Those ones, you go there and then register your case. They will definitely deal with it.
Okay.
Your money should not be lost forever.
I hear you. Let's go on to our WhatsApp console. I think we have time to play one or two voices before we cross over to Joy.
Good morning, David. I'm Kofi. Thank you for bringing this gentleman to your studio for explanation. My question is, I can confidently say over 50% of the customers of the collapsed savings and loans and microfinances have not been paid. We've been to the receiver, Eric Nananipa's office, severally. Always says to the people that we've been paid. David, it's not true. Secondly, those with microfinance like Noble Dream, African Trust, and others, they were about 36 or 38. The receiver told us that they do not have their data, so they cannot be paid. As I'm talking to you now, they have not been paid. Please ask this gentleman for us.
So how do you respond to this concern from this?
It's unfortunate, but what we have to do is that let's still pursue it. Go to Nananipa with all your documentation, and let's see what can be done about it. I know for sure that once they have your documentation and they go through their books and they have information about you, it will be easier for them to pay you.
Charlie, thank you very much,
Mr.
Yao for joining us. And at this point in time, we're crossing over to Joy 99.7. Are they setting a crowd? They want to talk about romance scam. They have Hajia for real, on their minds, So if we have the green light, can we cross over to Joy 99.7? Well, we don't have the green light yet. So instead, let me tell you about MTN.